Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us. My name is Shruti, and I recently graduated from the University of Maryland with a bachelor's degree.
And I'm Desiree, and I also recently graduated from the University of Maryland, also with a bachelor's degree. And we're both from the SP2 lab at UMD.
And today we'll be discussing our research, which compares security and privacy attitudes amongst users of different mobile and smart speaker platforms in the United States.
Our original research motivation stems from past mobile security research, largely being limited to the analysis of only one platform at a time. So, as we can see in this graphic, the differing technology platforms might experience differences in their user groups if they largely differ in privacy sensitivity, especially given that some platforms, like Apple, for instance, has tried to sell themselves on privacy. So, therefore, studying only one platform at a time could introduce biases or misimporting findings. So, if these differences may exist, we want to understand them better and provide important context about the generalizability of research results.
So this leads us to our main research question, which is, are there meaningful differences in privacy and security preferences, beliefs, and attitudes between users of different platforms? And so to answer this, we administered a privacy and security perception survey to a quasi-representative sample of the US population through Qualtrics. We crowdsourced 493 participants through Prolific to obtain the sample population representative of gender, age, and race.
Our survey analyzed differences in perceptions between iOS versus Android smartphone users and between Google Home and Amazon Echo smart speaker users. And to construct the questions, we borrowed from two pre-existing validated metrics for security and privacy perceptions. And the first was the security attitudes, or SA6 metric, and the second was the IUIPC metrics. We also pulled questions from national surveys from the Pew Research Center that looked at skepticism toward company data practices and overall digital knowledge.
So now getting to our main results, we have these three graphs here, which correlate to three of the metrics that we discussed earlier, which were the SA6 security attitudes, Pew skepticism, and the IUIPC, or the privacy concern comparison. And so really what we want to pay attention to here is the general shape across the left side, which is the iOS users for each of these graphs, and the right side, which is the Android users. And since the shapes between the iOS and Android sides are relatively similar, we therefore found no differences across the security attitudes, skepticism towards company data practices, and the overall privacy concerns.
However, we were able to find a significant difference between iOS and Android users in Pew knowledge comparison in the Pew knowledge comparison metric. So the y-axis shows the range of possible values for each scale, while the x-axis shows the fraction of total participants with each score. As you can see in the highlighted squares at the top, more Android users tended to have more digital privacy and security knowledge than the iOS users. Meanwhile, in the highlighted squares at the bottom of the screen, more iOS users tended to have less digital privacy and security knowledge than the Android users.
So overall, we found no significant differences in the attitudes of these user groups towards security and privacy concerns or skepticism towards company data practices. However, we did find Android users were somewhat more knowledgeable about digital security and privacy. And finally, we found no significant differences in any of our metrics across the user groups for smart speakers. So this suggests that cross-platform differences are not critical for security and privacy research on smart speakers, but this still remains an open question whether this might extend to other IoT devices.
Finally, here are a few recommendations based on key takeaways from the study. When looking at future studies that look at users of technology platforms, deploying a study on only one platform might be okay for addressing a range of security or privacy concerns. But if your study will be affected by technical knowledge, you might need to consider recruiting cross-platform representation or otherwise control for it. Because as we found with Android users, they tended to have more digital privacy and security knowledge than the iOS users. Thank you so much for listening, and feel free to reach out to us with any questions at the email listed on the slide.